think lies are my favorite weapon? No, too obvious. Too easy to catch. I prefer half-truths, the kind that sound wise, feel right, and leave just enough doubt to rot your reason. A lie makes you flinch, but a half-truth? It makes you think. It lingers. It spreads. I wrap poison on your purpose, lace deception with logic, and let you convince yourself I'm right. You don't even question it, because it's almost true. Want to see how I twist what's real? Until you can't tell anymore? Step into my world of maybes, and I'll show you the art of confusion. Step number 1, I start by telling the truth, but not all of it. It always begins with a fact, carefully selected. I don't lie, I just leave out what would bring balance. And that's where the damage starts. Leads into how the other person reacts to that distorted truth. Have you ever destroyed something real, based on something technically true? That's where I come in. I don't need to lie. That's amateur work. Lies can be caught, exposed, rejected. But truth, now that's seductive. Truth is clean, sharp, trustworthy. And when I wield it, it cuts exactly where I want it to. I whisper facts, not fabrications. Yes, she did cancel plans last minute. Yes, your coworker was talking behind your back. Yes, they forgot your birthday. But here's the trick. I don't show you why. I never give you the full context. I just hand you a single piece of the puzzle, and let your ego glue it into a conclusion. Because a half-truth isn't half as dangerous. It's 10 times worse. Why? Because it feels honest. And when something feels honest, you stop questioning it. I let you stew in that incomplete truth. I let your pride, fear, and insecurity do the rest. She didn't cancel, she doesn't care. He wasn't venting, he's plotting. They didn't forget, they don't value you. See what I did there? One sliver of truth. One missing detail. And now, you're doubting relationships that once held you together. You stop asking. You start assuming. You stop listening. You start guarding. And just like that, you've begun to isolate yourself. Proudly, angrily, righteously. That's where I begin. I don't shout. I don't twist. I simply curate. I frame. I leave out just enough to make sure you never see the other side. The beauty of a half-truth? You'll defend it like gospel. You'll swear you're being logical. But logic without perspective is just another form of blindness. And while you're building walls in your relationships based on what you know, I'm smiling because what you know was edited by me. But here's the best part. I don't even need to finish the story. You will. You'll fill in the blanks yourself. With fear, with resentment, with wounded pride. And once you start doing that, we enter the next stage. Wanna know what happens? When I let you write the rest of the story, stay close. Step number 2. Then I let you fill in the blanks? Why lie when I can make you do it for me? Humans hate uncertainty. So when I feed you a half-truth, your mind finishes the story. With fear, ego, and assumption. Once you believe the story you made up, I move to make it feel personal. Tell me, how many fights, Breakups or grudges were born not from what was said, but from what you imagined between the lines? Exactly. I don't manipulate through lies. That's too easy to catch, too easy to blame. No, I deal in implication. I give you just enough to feel certain, and leave the rest to your insecurity. You see a missed text. I don't tell you they hate you. I just make you wonder. You hear your name in a conversation. I don't say it was malicious, I just raise the possibility. And that's when you become the author of your own destruction. Because when you don't know the full story, your fear writes it. Your pain illustrates it. Your past publishes it. And suddenly, you're reacting to something that never happened. Not outside, at least. It only lives inside your mind, where I love to whisper. I nudge you just a little. You saw how they looked at you. You know what they really meant. Don't play dumb, this always happens. And then, you run with it. You accuse them. You shut down. You withdraw. You sabotage. And when they try to explain, when they actually tell you the truth, you don't listen. Because by then, your version has taken over. And your version was my idea. Here's the trick. I never told you what to believe. You just believed what you feared. And I made that fear feel logical. Do you see it now? You gave meaning to silence. You saw betrayal in hesitation. You imagined rejection in quiet moments. You chased ghosts and called it intuition. It wasn't your gut. It was me handing you just enough threads for your mind to knit a noose. One thought at a time. But you didn't ask. You didn't clarify. You didn't check in. Because, in your world, feeling right is more comfortable than being wrong. Even if it costs you everything real. So I smile. Because you just severed a bond without me lifting a finger. Now, the story you created, it becomes your truth. And once you've chosen that narrative, I take you deeper. Want to know what happens after you believe your assumptions? Stay with me. Step number 3. I make it feel like an attack, even when it's not. Have you ever walked away from a conversation? Fists clenched, heart racing, over something they didn't even say? Perfect, that was me. I frame situations so you feel disrespected or betrayed, even if they weren't meant that way. Now you're not just suspicious, you're offended. Now emotions are high, perfect for escalation in group or office dynamics. I didn't need to twist their words, just your feelings. I didn't change the message, just how you received it. Because I know the truth. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to defend. And I weaponize that instinct beautifully. Someone offers feedback? You're always criticizing me. A friend sets a boundary? Oh, so now I'm the problem? A colleague points out a mistake? You're trying to make me look stupid. No insults. No threats. But still, you feel attacked. Why? Because I laced your emotions with old wounds. Not their fault, mine. I connect their words to your past betrayals. Your fear of not being good enough. Your need to be seen, loved, respected. And when I do that, even calm conversations feel like war. They didn't raise their voice. but I amplified their tone in your head. They didn't mean harm, but I reminded you what harm used to feel like. They spoke truth, but I painted it in shame. And shame doesn't hear advice. Shame hears an attack. Do you see how easy it is? They say, "Hey, you've been distracted lately." You hear, "You're lazy, disappointing, and failing." They say, "Let's talk about what happened." You hear, "You're guilty, I'm judging you, prepare to be blamed." And then you react. You snap. You shut down. You cry. You lash out. Not because they were wrong, but because I made it feel wrong to be told the truth. You build walls where there were none. You defend things no one was attacking. You burn bridges to escape vulnerability. And the best part is, you'll think they're the problem. You should have said it better. You made me feel small. You knew that would hurt me. No. You interpreted it that way because I trained you to. You assumed their truth was a threat, so you fought it. And while you're caught in your emotional fog, drowning in defensiveness, I lean back. Because now you're not just fighting them. You're fighting connection itself. But I'm not done yet. Because once you're convinced that everyone's out to hurt you, I'll hand you a weapon. Ready for my next move? Then lean in. Step number 4. Then I turn one misunderstanding into a movement. Have you ever seen one small argument tear apart an entire circle? A friend group shattered. A team divided. A family at war. All over something no one even said clearly? Exactly. That's my favorite kind of chaos. Not the loud kind. The kind that spreads in whispers. You see, I don't need facts. I need feelings. One tiny misunderstanding, and I breathe life into it. I feed it suspicion. I feed it ego. I feed it they're talking about you. And you do the rest. It starts simple. One text message misread. One conversation replayed too many times in someone's head. One tone of voice slightly off. I swoop in and say, "See? That wasn't nothing. That was disrespectful. Now it's personal. Now you're not just annoyed, you're insulted. You tell someone else. They take your side. They add their own version of the story. And suddenly, a moment becomes a movement. The story gets passed like gospel, each retelling a little darker, a little angrier. I don't have to lie. You exaggerate it for me. And oh, how you love being part of the drama. You feel seen. You feel justified. You feel powerful. Because I made you feel like a victim. And victims don't question themselves. They gather armies. You start labeling people. Toxic, manipulative, selfish. You take screenshots. You tell your version first and loudest. By the time they try to defend themselves, it's too late. The crowd has chosen a side. Your side. And now, you're not just hurt. You're a leader. A leader of a movement. Born from a moment you never fully understood. And here's the punchline. No one remembers how it started. They just remember what they felt. And once people are emotionally invested, logic becomes irrelevant. One misread moment becomes a mission. And I don't just break the relationship. I rewrite the entire narrative. You've always been this way. I never really trusted you. I see it now, you're the villain. What started as confusion ends in character assassination. And while you're marching for your hurt, waving the flag of your truth, you burn someone who never meant to harm you. But don't worry, I'm just getting started. Because once you've created division, I'll make sure you cling to it. So, ready to see how I keep people apart? Step number 5. By the time you see the whole picture, you've already burned the bridge. Ever sent the angry text, and then read the message again? Ever walked away from someone, only to realize you never heard their side? Too late, right? That's the beautiful part. I don't need to destroy the truth. I just make sure you see it too late. Once the half-truths are in motion, the ones you filled in, the ones I stirred up, your pride kicks in. You start building walls. Not to protect yourself, but to block clarity. Because deep down, you're not ready to find out you might have been wrong. So you double down. You block. You ghost. You vent online. You make public what was never meant to leave a private moment. I smile because by the time the full truth starts to surface, you've already painted someone as the villain. And here's the real trap. Now you have something to protect, not your heart, but your narrative. Even when doubt creeps in, you think, what if I misunderstood? What if I was too harsh? You silence it, because admitting you were wrong is harder than staying bitter. So the bridge burns. Not because it had to, but because you made sure there was no way back. I've watched best friends become strangers. I've seen soulmates become enemies. And all it took was timing. You saw the whole picture, but only after you'd already lit the match. But hey, if you're still here, if something inside you aches a little when I say all this, maybe you haven't burned everything yet. So here's the thought, dangerous, I know. What if you paused before reacting next time? What if, instead of collecting allies, you collected facts? What if you asked, not assumed? Clarity doesn't always come fast. But chaos, that's instant. Which one have you been feeding? If you want to be better than me, you'll need courage. Not the courage to cut people off, but the courage to stay long enough to understand them. And next time your pride starts drafting your next argument, ask yourself, is this the truth, or just a story that feels good to believe? Because the bridge might still be there, but only if you stop pouring gasoline and pick up a brick. Your choice. For now, I'll wait.